Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing a Shelby GT350 Heritage Edition. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Ken Gar Ford here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with this GT350. This particular one is still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money, the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering the GT350 is a naturally aspirated 5.2 liter V8 that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission. Now this is a flat plane crank V8, so it revs to over 8,000 RPMs. Now power outputs with the GT350 are 526 horsepower and then 429 pound-feet of torque, and I like the coloration there. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see the blue stripes. That's part of the Heritage package. And then notice the venting you get in every single GT350. Now, it's probably not going to pop on the camera too well, but this is a special white paint. This is not Oxford white. It's like an off-white. It's got more cream to it compared to Oxford white. And then you got the Mustang signature headlights here with what I call the fishtail LED daytime running lights. And then the front end of the GT350 is so aggressive. Like, look at all the venting. And then you guys will notice with the GT350 badge how it's blue there on the front end, which is pretty cool. And then look at Shelby, how much that pops. And putting it together, I mean, this is going to go down as just one of the most beautiful Mustangs of all time. I'm not saying the Heritage necessarily, but just the GT350 in general. Now, coming on the side here, tire and wheel setup is 295/30/19 in the front, and then 305/30/19 in the rear, so slightly staggered setup. And then I like how the brake caliper is blacked out on this. It just fits with the design of the car overall. Got more venting here on the side than GT350. You can see GT350 down below. Again, this is something else that's part of this Heritage package. And then look at the side skirt there, pretty aggressive. And then taking a look at the full side view of the car. Again, it's so sleek, and that like little vent piece there behind the front wheel just adds to the aggression. Now here's our key fob. We have our unlock function or lock function. This is the opening for the trunk, and then you've got the Shelby Cobra there on the back end, and we'll pop this open. Now popping in the trunk, it's just like every other Mustang in terms of the storage is pretty decent, but my favorite part, notice how it says Shelby GT350 on the floor mats, also the trunk cover as well, so that's another fun part. Now this is not the R version, and so you guys can see we've got the regular spoiler here in the back, which still is super aggressive. And then again, look at the stripes there, and then you can see here down below with the Cobra, and then you've got the sequential taillights. You guys will love the exhaust note a little bit later, by the way. But wrapping things up, I think this is a really cool car. It definitely takes a certain taste to like all of the blue, but I think it looks good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see here with the Alcantara insert, and then we got the padding down below. Memory seats with this, we've got our window controls, and then the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. Now the R version of the GT350 has no back seats, but the regular version that this has back seats. So yeah, even though they are very cramped back there, they exist. Now taking a look at the front seats, this has the comfort style of seats. You guys can see it says GT350 yet again, but you still have the Alcantara there in the center in gray. But you can see how the bolstering's not super aggressive, and they're partially power adjustable. And then you've got the 3-pedal layout because this is a manual transmission. So taking a look at the steering wheel, it's mostly Alcantara. There is a little bit of leather trim here at the bottom, then you got the marker there at the top, which is pretty neat. As for the rest of the controls, you've got like radio controls here in the steering wheel, controls for the center stack. The important stuff though is right here. You've got your drive mode select here on the steering wheel, suspension, and then your steering select all on the steering wheel as well, just like the Raptors, which is cool. Now here is the center gauge cluster, the important part. The 8,250 RPM red line. It's so cool. But yeah, it's the Mustang's older gauge cluster, so it's nothing too fancy. It's just cool that the red line's so high. We've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and resolution's pretty solid. As for the rest of the infotainment system, since this is a 2020 model year, this has Ford's newer units, funny enough, and so response time is great. It's obviously not the bigger infotainment system, but like the actual features on this are just like what you get with the new Fords that have an infotainment system that's this size. Hopefully that makes sense. Analog radio controls down below. Now having the comfort seats means that this has dual zone climate as well as heated and cooled seats. Well, the dual zone climate doesn't come with that, but I think you guys get the point. Anyways, we've got our stability control here. That's your launch control, which basically just burnout mode. And then you've got your button there for the exhaust to make it louder or quieter. Now here's our shifter for the 6-speed manual transmission. I love how this goes into the gears. It's a Tremec 6-speed. The only thing I don't like about the shifter is frankly the shifter head, but that's an easy fix. You just have to replace that. Other than that, we'll kind of talk us more with the driving portion, but really cool. And then you can see here we've got some cup holders, got your regular brake, center console here. Is that a little, looks like the back of like a crocodile or something. Anyways, got the glove box pretty normal. And then of course you can see here with the chassis number and then the blue Cobra as well. It's pretty cool. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, both the mirrors. Just do a blind spot monitoring throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. Okay, so starting our journey here in the GT350. Now you guys know that I just recently bought one of these, not a Heritage Edition, but just a regular 2020, and it's such a special car. This is one of those cars that is, I mean, it's already like iconic at this point, but it's going to remain iconic for a very long time because it's got such a special engine. Now we're not going to drive with the valves closed at all because that's pointless. Just listen to this. I mean, if I close the valves, here we go. You just don't really hear anything. It's super boring. I'd literally never drive mine with the valves closed. It's just, it's not worth it at all. And by the way, if you want to see more driving content with the GT350, I will have some videos on mine in the near future. So that's another reason for you guys to subscribe. But flat plane crank. And that's not even all the way to redline. This has so many revs. It's just crazy. 8,250 RPMs. It's so fun. And it's so easy to rev match downshift with this car, frankly. Like, it just, again, it has so many revs that it just works so well. It's so buttery smooth. This car makes you look like a pro. And it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't have auto, if you guys are wondering, it doesn't have auto rev match. It's just that the throttle's so blippable with this that, like, it's just, it's so easy to match the RPMs. So anyways, I might be a little bit biased because I don't own a Heritage Edition, but I still own a GT350. My opinion on this car, I think it has an amazing powertrain. It's got really good suspension. It does not have great suspension compared to the GT500. I will be making some videos talking about this. I think that's the only downside about this car, honestly, is the front suspension. It's not as good as it could be, but the rest of the car, especially the engine, I mean, come on. You can't go wrong with that. Let me know what you guys think about this Heritage Edition.